Hi, I am Misha and this is my first time in Braunschweig. Today I want to discover Braunschweig or Brunswick in English. I have never been here before, but today I have the opportunity to do so. What do I know about Braunschweig? Well, the population is about 300,000, I think, and it has a rich history as there were some monarchs, some kings or so, like Heinrich der Löwe, so Henry the Lion. But the lion will play a central role in today's tour as, I have already seen a bunch of lions, although I haven't even started the tour yet while coming here. So I will keep my eyes open for quite some lions. And then of course there is a football club here, Eintracht, and there is probably a very nice and interesting city center with a lot of old buildings. Well, we will find out more about this later. But right now I'm in front of a museum, and this is also why there are some fellas like this one, a dinosaur, and then when I turn around into the other direction, there's another one. And yeah, so this museum, I don't have the time to enter it. But what is also interesting, right next to it, there is the campus of the University of Braunschweig, the Technical University. And this will probably be my first goal for the day. So I hope we will have a great time together. Let's visit Braunschweig. With approximately 15,000 students in 80 different studies, I would say it's a medium-sized university. According to Wikipedia, the TU is the oldest designated technical university in Germany actually. It is an important place for research as well. Well, the buildings are pretty mixed, as in old and new, or beautiful and ugly, but that is of course a matter of taste. Lying embedded in the city, the campus reminded me of universities like Hamburg or the Free University of Berlin, both of course of a bigger size. Part of the TU is the Botanical Garden with a history of almost 200 years. I love botanical gardens, and this one's quite neat with several sections like a distinguished farmer's garden and an artificial creek. One of the highlights is the bassin with giant water lilies. Entrance is free. Adjacent to the park-esque gardens is the river Oka, which rises in the Harz National Park and is the most important river of Braunschweig. Behind me you can see the historic town hall of Braunschweig, and there is a large balcony, and it's very typical that if there are some successful sports people from the city, then there would be a huge celebration over here with the team on the balcony and everybody else cheering to them in front of this square. I can show you a little bit of this square. And in the other direction behind me, and I will check it out in a second, there is the Cathedral of Braunschweig, a very old building, church building, and I will try and find out more about this. The Cathedral of Braunschweig was actually built by, or let's say in the name of, Henry the Lion in the 12th century. And he wouldn't miss the opportunity to erect a lion next to the sacred building. So the link of lions and Braunschweig exists for more than 800 years now. That's why the city bears the nickname Löwenstadt or City of Lions. The original lion that once stood here was resettled for preservation reasons. The area around the cathedral has got a couple of old buildings. They're in a harsh contrast to the modern buildings that were built after World War II. This contrast can be found in other areas too. It's hard to tell which buildings are actually old. Most of the historic town was destroyed in World War II due to air raids. Thus, what looks old might just be a reconstruction, which brings me to the palace. I have now arrived at the shopping center, at the shopping district here of Braunschweig. I'm pretty close to the center of the city, and behind me you can see something which looks like like a palace, and it is actually an old palace, a former palace, but it is now in use for some public facilities, like there is the library of the city and there is an archive. But it's also a huge shopping mall. And I haven't seen something like this so far. I'm going to check this out in a second. And then I will proceed towards the rest of the center. And it's a Saturday. It's really crowded. Saturdays are typical days for shopping here in Germany. So I hope that everything will be all right. Well, having a rebuilt palace as a mall is some kind of statement, I guess. I don't like the idea, but to be fair, commerce brings money, something a museum in 99% of cases will not. Plus, to be fair, the rebuilt palace is also home to the city's public library. You might think that a mall of this size is sufficient for shopping. Nope. There are many shops in the area between the palace and the cathedral as well. Downtown Braunschweig is basically a huge shopping place with a couple of churches in between. To be honest, I guess that is what most European cities look like. I am in front of the stadium of Eintracht Braunschweig, and I think there is an old phrase that says, "No good tour without a stadium." This stadium is quite old and has a lot of tradition, and despite it is looking really decent from the outside, it's pretty old, and it's also a bit odd that it still possesses a track outside of the pitch, and this is something which is really rare these days. So yeah, this little square where I am standing right now has the name Square of the 1967ers, in remembrance of the club or the squad that in 1967 was German football champion. Eintracht Braunschweig is a well-known club in Germany. They were one of the clubs that were in the initial Bundesliga in 1963, and they were the first team in Germany to have a sponsor's logo on their jerseys. It was the 1970s when Jägermeister, the famous schnapps, placed their logo on Braunschweig's jerseys. Eintracht became German champion in 1967, as you've learned. And the supporters ever since then dream of history repeating itself. After a brief reappearance in the Bundesliga, the club is currently in the second Bundesliga. I finished my tour with an original cup of Eintracht Braunschweig coffee and think that it was a really interesting tour. I hope to see you soon again. Take care. Cheers.